Hey, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. Now today let's talk about battery life. Okay, so yesterday morning I had a client meeting first thing, like at 9 o'clock in the morning. So like I said, every time I have a first meeting with a client, so this is the first time I met them. So every time I meet with a client for the first time, I always wear the suit, always try to make a good first impression, always speak in a deep voice. Alright, I don't do the last bit, but yeah, I always make a good impression, all this kind of stuff. So, you know, I did like I normally do. I got up at 4 o'clock, I was in the office by 4:30, doing a bit of work here in the office, and then I went to the gym, and then I went home and quickly showered and got dressed and everything to go to the client site for the meeting. Right, but I realized when I was at home that I'd forgotten my notebook in the office, right? My notebook, and I always bring a notebook to client meetings, and it's not so much to take notes, although sometimes you have to, but usually it's not so much you can't remember. But it's usually to sketch out ideas. So they'll come up with app ideas, or you know, we'll talk about flows, application flows, and stuff like that. So we'll just sketch out a few things, and it's really hard for me to think without the paper in front of me, right? So I thought. And I looked around the house, I couldn't find anything. And I didn't want to just grab printer paper or, like a spiral notebook. I wanted something that looked professional. And I thought, oh God, I could just swing by the office and pick up my notebook and then just tell them I'm going to be a bit late. But, or I could just, and then I remembered in my bag I have this. And I thought, I have an Apple Pencil in my bag, right? So I thought, I'm a technology professional. I'm an app guy, right? They expect me to have stuff like this. I get, what is this, 2017? What am I doing with paper and pen anyway, right? I should be using the latest tools. And I started thinking it in my head, thinking, oh, how cool it would be if I take my iPad Pro and my pencil and I go, so is this the type of design that you're looking for? And then just show that to them and they'll think, this guy's really technically advanced and everything like that. So anyway, I stopped worrying about it, went to the client site, drove out there, sat in the waiting room, went in there and met with the client and everything. And when the time came, I thought, let me just sketch out some ideas for you, and I got my cool Apple Pencil out, which I've only used a few times before, right? And so I just don't really use it. I kind of forgot I had it. I use the iPad Pro all the time, but so I took it out and I started sketching, and you know what? It didn't work. And the reason is because this stupid thing was out of battery, right? This pencil, like, there's no battery indicator on it. There's nothing. You charge it up on this thing. I don't know. So there's no battery indicator. I have no idea how long it takes to charge, any of that kind of stuff. All I know is when it came time to use it, it didn't work, right? Because of battery life. And this is one of the problems we have these days with, as developers, as people in the app economy, is that one of the big issues we have is battery life. So, it used to be like back in the early days of the web, like in the .com boom back like in 2001, 2002, everything was moving to the web. We were all putting everything, all these web services and everything. We're starting to build all these stuff, e-commerce and everything. And people talk about, people out in the, like salesmen out in the field could just take out their laptops or whatever and and type stuff in on the go. But the problem was internet access. Like, we didn't have internet access as good as we do today. We had a lot of, it was very patchy, especially in the UK. So as much as you thought you could use like an internet connected device all over the place, it really wasn't the case. And it's much better now. Like, now we have really good internet. I mean, mostly. There's some places that don't have it. Like, I have like two of my family members live in remote places in the States, and they talk about, oh, it's beautiful here. We're away from the big city. We got all this land. It's beautiful. You hear the birds chirping and everything, but their internet is terrible, right? And I think I'd rather have the crowds actually and really good internet, but that's just me. So now the internet's much better, but our big problem we have now is battery life. So, like I used to, like right now I wear this, like a Timex Ironman watch. It's the same kind of watch that I used to wear in the Army when I was in the Army, right? But I used to wear this, a Moto 360 Android watch, right? Which was really cool for like a week. So the battery would last it would last a day. So, I would wear it through the day, and it was kind of cool. I could just go shoom, and I could have all these little apps on it and everything. And then I'd have to leave it in the charger overnight because it would be pretty much dead by 9 p.m. So I leave it overnight. And even though people made cool apps like sleep trackers and stuff like that, I could never use them because the battery was always dead. I had to charge the thing overnight, right? But then after 6 months, it just got crazy. Like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the battery was dead, right? And the reason I stopped wearing the thing was because I got tired of not knowing what time it is, right? So like, it's embarrassing when you're sitting there and like somebody say, hey, what time is it? And you go, you try to flip it up to do the thing, and you try to tap on it, and you go, Yeah, I don't know what time it is. It's just like really bad because that technology. I mean, the technology was cool, but the battery life is what lets you down, right? So it's a constant thing, right? And even with my phone, like this, my Nexus 6P, which I've had for a year. I mean, it used to be really cool. I mean, it's got a huge disk space. You know, the battery was really long battery life. I've had it for a year, and the battery is like now it lasts. You know, like I could be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon and it's completely dead, right? So if a lot of times I'll go for a run and I'll take my phone with me and I have like I either have an audiobook or a playlist, and as soon as you leave the house, the stupid thing shuts down, right? It's very frustrating, right? And the big thing, I remember having an argument with somebody a few years ago. We're talking about which is better, iPhone or Android. He was kind of a snob, right? So he's like, iPhone, why would you even try Android? If we all know iPhone is better. And I was saying the reason I like Android more than iPhone, for the most part, is because you can change the battery in it yourself. And he says, well, how often do you actually do that? And it's one of the things, and now on this one, I can't change the battery myself. It's one of those things where we're moving into, you know, we have the software side of things, which has an expectation that we're going to have long battery life and we use these things all the time, and the hardware manufacturers who are just not keeping up. The same way with the web in the early days, where we had software developers saying we're going to have everything's going to be web-based, and then we had the internet providers and all this kind of stuff just not keeping up because we didn't have the bandwidth or, you know, the coverage and everything like back then. So anyway, I guess I don't really have anything to talk about today except the fact that, you know, with those problems with the internet back in the day, eventually those, you know, took over. So, you know, sometimes you still code in a way that is, you know, you expect the internet not to be there. And that's something we have to do as app developers anyway. I mean, that's one of the big benefit of apps. Like when I sell them to clients, I think, you know, well, we can have offline access too, because that's important, because, you know, you got tunnels and, you know, and undergrounds and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, but eventually we'll get to the stage where, you know, that's going to be, I think we'll have complete coverage. And, you know, but it's a lot slower than we think of, and hopefully we will with battery one day. So anyway, today I just wanted to show you, you know, how, you know, we rely on these tools. Also the Kindle, like the Kindle is really great. I love my Kindle, but just, I can't tell you the amount of times where I sat down to read, like at bed at night, and yeah, I put the Kindle on and the battery's dead, and my wife would be like, if you just had like a normal book, it would work. I said, yeah, I know, but you know, that's so boring, right? One day we're not gonna cut down all these trees. One day we're gonna have all this stuff is gonna work, but right now, you know, this technology lets us down all the time. So I guess that's it. That's it. Today's just a rant. Today's topic's gonna be, oh, the perils of battery life. Let's say that. Okay. So anyway, that's it for today. I will talk to you guys next week.